Welcome to the Purpose and Profit Club podcast for nonprofit leaders, mission-driven creatives, and social entrepreneurs. Get ready to stop dreaming and start doing. Here, ideas become action. We prioritize purpose and profit. You ready? Let's go. You're about to listen to an episode recorded in my car. So I went antiquing this weekend, and on the way there, I recorded this episode for you, and I had to share it. Not ideal audio, but decent. So if you hear some sounds in the background, that's what we've got today. But we're digging into the 3 traits that I think are so important to skyrocket your success. And I don't mean that in like a big, broad marketing way. I actually mean that in a truly what separates the leaders, the marketers, and the fundraisers, the most successful ones, from the ones who feel depleted, who feel like they're always trying, who feel like they haven't cracked the code. It's these 3 traits. Okay? Enjoy. So today I want to talk about this idea of children from age 0. So from like day 1, newborn baby, to, I think everybody is different. Every child is different. But I'm going to say somewhere around middle school, so like puberty era, this dropping off. But children being very, very high on the chart of a couple of different characteristics, and then having these characteristics completely drop off, and how people who are very similar to children, adults who are similar to children, there's not as many of them, right, who are high in these qualities, these personality traits, have so much more success. I'm going to define success here as just achieving the thing they want, achieving the dreams. So success could be getting the thing they want. It could be impact. It could be revenue. It could be whatever. They get the thing they want. It can be both, by the way. When they are high on these qualities. So the first quality is curiosity. Think about it. My son, I don't think he's come up for air today. It's a Saturday. I'm recording this. So many questions. He's almost 9. So many questions. So many observations. So many everythings. And that is just a level of curiosity that adults don't, it may be there, but they don't access, right? They just sort of shut it down. You know, it's like why, the whys of the world, right? We stop being curious, okay? So curiosity is one. Think about how curious kids are. Think about how curious toddlers are. Their entire essence is curiosity, right? What's in there? How does this work? What happens if I do this, right? What happens if I tip this bowl over? Cats are curious. They do the exact same thing. Okay, curiosity. Another one, a willingness to feel uncomfortable. This just popped in my head. Like, think about children in diapers. A full diaper, very uncomfortable. But boy, do they get used to that feeling, right? Because sometimes there's a lapse between when a caretaker knows that diaper's full, when a caretaker is able to find a spot to change that diaper, and they have to be willing to, that's a physical discomfort that they get really good at feeling. Here's another one. The willingness to feel uncomfortable in trying new things. And that's really the essence of what I want to talk about today, is their willingness to feel uncomfortable in the act of just being curious, learning, and adapting. Like, they are so willing to be uncomfortable. And so you can think about it as, you know, a baby. You can think about it as toddlerhood. I think about it even into elementary age, which, you know, my kids are, which is like, they're just like, I guess I'm just going to figure this out. I guess I'm about to go. I mean, I think about all the situations my kids have been in where everything was new. I don't have a friend here. I don't actually know how this school day is going to go. This camp's going to go, this whatever, but here we go. And what's on the other side of that? For sure, some nerves. I would expect for sure some like wobbliness there. So that willingness to feel uncomfortable. And then see if you can guess the last one that I want to talk about. So we said curiosity, and I'm actually picturing this as a what would that be? A line chart, like a graph, where the age of the person, it starts very, very high. They have a very high tolerance for and desire to be curious, to be uncomfortable tolerance, okay? And then into the 20s, I think people are still curious in general. They still have a lot of that dreamy curiosity, right? Some willingness to be uncomfortable, and it really drops off, I think, for a lot of people in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and beyond, right? Because that is when you're like, no, I mean, this is what I've got. This is who I am. This is how it is, right? I'm very comfortable with this life, this schedule, this framework, this everything, right? Even people who, if you think about it, you're like, we take one vacation a year, right? I'm somebody who takes one vacation a year. I'm somebody who takes 5 vacations a year. Whatever your flavor is, you sort of identify as that person, and that's that, period, full stop. So think about that. All right, so we had curiosity, we had a willingness to feel uncomfortable, and then what would be the next one? The next one is what I'm going to say is your risk and failure tolerance. So we can talk about them together. Your risk and failure tolerance. So if you think about children, their risk tolerance is really, really high. When my daughter was not 3, but close to that, one weekend she was like, I'm figuring out how to ride a bike, and she was dead set on it, like a bike without training wheels, because that's what her brother had. And her risk tolerance was so high because all she did was start and stop, start and stop, start and fall, start and fall. So what is a fall? A fall is a fail, right? And her failure tolerance was so high. She was so willing to just get back on. And she's done this again now, where this year, very, like, just relentless is the word, relentlessly committed to not only mastering the monkey bars, mastering like all of these different party tricks, right? I got to go frontwards. I got to go backwards. I got to skip a side. I got to flip upside down. I got to do them from the sides. And the first few months, one of the days she was working on it, she'll go to the playground and that will be all she does, right? Ended up in the emergency room because I'm like, did you just break your wrist? Did you break your wrist? She had a fall and it was like uncertain. We had to get her x-ray. She ended up spraining it and she ended up in a little kid splint for a few days. And the minute she was out of that splint, she was back on the monkey bars. Like, think about that. Bananas. Relentless. Now, if that exact same thing happened to an adult, how would we handle it? And you could say a sport, or you could say not, it doesn't matter. But how would we handle it? What would the average 40-year-old person do if they were like in the ER? And not to say sweepingly, every adult would just give up and everybody would just say, that's it. But I want to say that the tolerance for failure, especially repeated failure, is much lower for the average 30-something, 40-something, 50-something, 60-something. You start to really make those fails, make those falls mean something significant about you and mean something significant about your ability to achieve the thing that you're after. It's like the bruise lasts longer, and then the bruise of falling is evidence to you that it wasn't even possible in the first place. And isn't that the biggest lie? I was listening to an interview with Dan Pallotta, who has a documentary out called Uncharitable, which is, it's fascinating. He has a book. Go watch his TED Talk if you don't know who it is. Google Dan Pallotta TED Talk. And I was listening to an interview with him, and the host asked him, like, basically, you've had so much success. Can you tell us about a setback? Which seemed like just an obvious kind of question to ask. Like, hey, think about it. You're at the top of your game. You're at the top of your game, Bill Gates. You're at the top of your game, RBG. You're at the top of your game, Oprah, Sarah Blakely. Can you tell us about a setback? It seems so easy for you now, right? And his answer was so good. he said, it was like 3 minutes of uninterrupted talking where he just listed all of his fails in his career. And it was long, you guys. It was long. And by the end of it, I was like, holy shit. This man has failed, and this man has been relentless at chasing his dreams, relentless at being curious, relentless at getting back up, relentless with being uncomfortable. And when I talk about risk, he's been a relentless risk taker. I used to perceive risk as like risky in financials, or risky, like, risky in investing, or risky in jumping out of an airplane, like that kind of risk. And that is not the kind of risk I want to talk about for us in social impact. I'm talking about that risk, that willingness to do it different than it was done before. So he listed all of the times he even just, to get on the stage at TEDx, all of the things that happened in advance to that, his business that didn't work out, his business that had to close, the people who disagreed with him, all of the pushback he got in the nonprofit sector when he talked about how we need to change the entire overhead model, like all of these pieces, all of the pieces of people saying, no, we don't agree. No, you're wrong. No, no. All of the setbacks. And I was like, oh, that's so good. What an interesting answer, because even the way the question was phrased was like, tell us about one time you failed, basically. And he was like, here's 3 dozen, right? And it was such a good reminder. And I'm like, oh, here it is again. He maps on the exact type of person, some of the traits that create change, that create success, that create a ton of funding for your organization. He has curiosity. He has a willingness to feel uncomfortable. He has a willingness to fail and not make it mean something catastrophic about him, right? About his personality, about himself. Such a good reminder. So let's talk about how you can develop that skill set, because that's the other piece. Is I don't want you to take today and be like, okay, well, I just am not someone who ... right? I'm in the 90% of adults who are kind of cozy and comfortable and really want to avoid some of these failings you're talking about, and some of these fails, and some of these, pieces you're talking about. Okay. And you can change at any time, and you can cultivate a muscle to build these traits in you. I was on a podcast recently, and the host asked me basically, so do your clients who have an entrepreneurial spirit, are they kind of more successful in the work you do, in the work they do, basically, because they're scrappier, right? They're more willing to be nimble. They're more willing to be forward thinking. And what I said was, yes, and that is a muscle you can build. That's a muscle you can cultivate. It's not a problem if that's not a muscle that currently exists, or that muscle is a little small. We can work on that. That's what we're doing in the club. That is what we're doing in the Purpose and Profit Club. You get to say, this is what I want. And we get to say, all right, let's go. Here's the roadmap. Where do you need the guidance and support to do that? How, and get the help from me to get there, right? So some people may say, Christina, I'm a dreamer. I'm curious. I promise I've still got that. I'm holding this vision for our organization, for our mission. And I can see it. And we haven't gotten there yet. So you may be fine there. And it may be the piece about feeling uncomfortable, right? And a willingness to really step into that, right? Or it may be the piece on handling failure, or it may be the piece on being more risk taking, right? Is that the word? Taking more risks. Let's say it that way. That you want to start working out, that you want to start building upon. So think about it. If you are around any children in your life, watch them this week, this month, and watch how much they fall physically, mentally, spiritually, like all of it. Watch how willing, not only do they like get bumps and bruises and things like that, but like watch how much they like pronounce things wrong, say the wrong sentence structure, raise their hand, don't know the answer, get it wrong, not follow directions, ask questions, all of, try and make new friends and don't make new friends and do, like watch how much their life is the complete opposite of an adult's, of a like cozy, comfortable adult's life who isn't doing that. And then I want you to watch the parallel of somebody you admire, a mentor, a thought leader, a community leader, a celebrity, anyone you admire, author, you pick, and ask yourself, ooh, where do they land on this list? How are they high on some of these personality features, on some of these, attributes, like children are? And where am I willing to channel a little bit more of that in myself? If you enjoyed today's podcast, go share it with somebody. I would love that. Share it on stories, tag me in it, share it on LinkedIn or wherever you like to hang out on social, and I'll see you soon. If you believe in the rule of reciprocity, just like I do, take a quick moment to rate and review this podcast. I would be so grateful. Tag me in a post on social media and let me know what you think over at Splendid Consulting. It helps this podcast show up in the feed of other change makers and social entrepreneurs just like you. Think you've reached out to everyone in your network? Are you out of ideas to get noticed and get funded? I hear you. That's why I'm giving you a chance to steal my prospect list. Yes, you can generate leads for your nonprofit or impact-driven business. Grab my mini training and list delivered to your inbox instantly. Go to splendidcourses.com/prospect.